Hi, I'm Robi, also known as Crochet somewhere on the internet, and today I'm going to show you how to make these Chomper from Plants vs. Zombie, I think. Two people asked for this on my shorts, and they asked for this about 2 years ago. Not literally, but quite a while ago. It took me a while to get this together because it's a long pattern, it's a long process, and it's probably one of my most complex amigurumis that I've made. Not that the parts themselves are difficult, it's got a lot of moving parts, so it's a little bit complex to put together. So I'd say definitely it is kind of a medium difficulty amigurumi. I try to show you some sewing and stuff, so I'll leave it up to you if you want to give it a try. Okay, that being said, I guess we can get into it. Yes, I suppose so. Hi, sorry, quick note from editing me. So first of all, I filmed this tutorial about 2 months ago. That's why I'm constantly mentioning how hot it is, because it was very hot. But you're gonna hear about that, don't worry. And second of all, I wanted to apologize because towards the end I get very pissy because there was a clip that I thought I had filmed and I hadn't, and I had to go back and film it again, and it annoyed me to no end. So I'm sorry about the attitude. It's that was the only reason. And third, just watch the tutorial very carefully, and if you can, just wait to see the next clip, because sometimes I give you more advice, or I correct myself in some cases. It's a very complex tutorial, and honestly it's probably the most complex amigurumi that I've made so far, and trying to explain it was a bit tricky, so I hope I did a half decent job. I say it towards the end as well, but I'm aware of the fact that it's not extremely clear. So if you have any doubt, honestly, just reach out to me on social media. I respond as quickly as I can, and yes, that's it. I apologize for this tutorial. Like that's the basics of it. Okay, bye. Okay, so here's what you will need. You will need 3 shades of green. I went for a lighter green, a slightly darker green, and then the darkest green. These are not the colors that I used for my original one, but I honestly didn't want to buy new yarn because I have so much of it. And then you're going to need some white felt, you're going to need hot glue, tapestry needle, pins, a crochet hook to match your yarn. I used a 3mm crochet hook. And then you're also going to need some wire. You're going to need possibly 2 different width of wire. I hope that makes sense, like in diameter. You're going to need one that's a little bit wider, I suppose, and one that's a little bit finer. I wish I could give you some exact measurements, but I used some wire that I had left over, and honestly one of them was also a little bit too thick, so I don't really know how to help you precisely. I'm really sorry. Just pick a wire, like for the finer one. The one that's thicker, honestly, you can just go ham with it, but the one that's a little bit finer, just think that it needs to be hidden by the yarn that you're using. Okay, so it needs to be in that area of thinness, I suppose. And then you'll just need some stuffing. I think that's it. If I forget something, I'll just write it. Okay, and finally, last thing that we are going to go through before we get to the pattern, the stitches that you're going to need is going to be chain stitch, single crochet increase, single crochet decrease, double crochet, triple crochet, and slip stitch. Basically all of the stitches. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to show you how to make the head. So also, let's not mention my nails. I broke 2 of them badly opening the fridge. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to start with a magic ring, and then we are going to make 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, so once that is done, we have round 2, which is going to be 6 increases, so 1 increase in each single crochet. So at the end we are going to have 12 single crochets. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end of round 3 we are going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so round 3 is done, so we move on to round 4, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 24 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Thank you, Oliver. Okay, so once round 4 is done, we can move on to round 5, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 30 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 5 is done, we move on to round 6, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 6 we will still have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 6 is done, we move on to round 7, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 36 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 7 is done, we move on to round 8, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 42 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 8 is done, we move on to round 9, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 9 we will still have 42 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 9 is done, we can move on to round 10, which is going to be 6 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 48 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 10 is done, we can move on to round 11, which is going to be 7 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 54 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 11 is done, round 12 is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 54 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 12 is done, we can move on to round 13, but before we do, this is going to be the round where we incorporate the wire, the thinner wire, if you will. So what you want to do is you want to cut a piece of wire that is approximately the length of the circumference of the semi-sphere that we've made. It's always better if it's a little bit longer. You can always cut it a little bit more. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to make still 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 13 we will still have 54 single crochets, but you want to work the wire into that round. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to insert your crochet hook into the next single crochet, and then when you yarn over, the yarn should be over the wire like so. So you pull the yarn through, and when you go to yarn over again, your crochet hook should go over the wire. Okay, so basically the crochet hook goes under the wire. When you insert it in the single crochet, the yarn is over the wire. When you yarn over, pull through, and then when you yarn over once again, the crochet hook goes over the wire. It's easier done than said, but yeah, you're just going to work like so for the rest of the round. So that's 54 single crochets total, so I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once that is done, as you can see, I have round 13 done with the wire inserted. So you want to shape it so that it's as much of a circle as you can make it. And I just bent the two ends of the wire so that it won't come out of the stitches, and I cut the yarn because that is going to be the lower part of the head done. Now, sorry if you can hear the fan in the background, I just cannot die of a heat stroke. So the upper part of the head is going to be worked exactly the same way as the lower part, so what we've just done, from round 1 to round 10. And round 11 is still going to be 7 single crochets and 1 increase, so it's the same round that we made for the lower part of the head. The only difference is that we will work the wire into this round. Okay, so you're going to do what we did before, so you're going to get your wire, cut a piece that is as long as the circumference of this piece, and you just want to work it into that piece while making 7 single crochets and 1 increase repeated 6 times for a total of 54 single crochets, and then we'll just fasten off, and that will be the upper part of the head. Oh, sorry, one thing I forgot. When you finish making the upper part of the head, leave quite a long tail, because we're going to use that to sew the two parts of the head together. So leave a long tail when you fasten off. Hope that makes sense. I'll be back with that done. Okay, so once we have both the pieces for the head, I know my wire looks wonky, just ignore it. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, so once we have the pieces of the head done, remember the one that has more rounds is going to be the lower part of the head, and the one that has less rounds is going to be the upper part of the head, so something like this. So what we're going to do is you're going to count 38 single crochets on the lower part of the head and 36 single crochets on the upper part of the head. You can signal them by placing some pins, stitch markers if you have them. You can just count them as you go, it's fine, whatever suits you. I would leave the part where you have the wire kind of closing at the back, so where you have less stitches on both the parts of the head, as I did. And what you want to do is you want to take your second shade of green, and you are going to take your crochet hook, insert it where you have the pin, if you will, so starting from this stitch, and we are just going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next, since this is the lower part of the head, in each of the next 38 single crochets. So I'm just going to single crochet all around until I reach this other pin right here, okay? And I'll be back when I have that done. Okay, so the lower part is done, so I made my single crochets all around where I had placed the pins. So now comes the slightly tricky part. It's not too difficult, it's just that I might be bad at explaining it. So you take the upper part of the head, okay, and what you're going to do is basically we want to keep crocheting, we want to keep making single crochets with this color on the upper part of the head, again working in the stitches between those two pins. Okay, so basically what you do is you insert your crochet hook into the single crochet that you hopefully marked or identified somehow with that pin. There we go, I was about to get it wrong. No, what did I do? Okay, no, I was getting it right. Okay, so take out the pin, and remember it's got to be 36 single crochets, so it's going to be a little bit tricky, I know. Bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to make my first single crochet into the upper part of the head. Right, so, okay, and then I have to make 35 more, so 36 in total, and basically what you get at the end is that these two pieces are going to be joined somewhat, sorry I keep going out of frame, somewhat like so, Okay, it's still going to be very loose because we still have to sew the back of it, but that's the idea. So I'll see you once I have single crocheted in the upper part of the head as well. Okay, I hope to God that makes some sense. Okay, so I've made my 36 single crochets on the upper part of the head, right? So you should be in this situation right here. It's fine, it's normal, that's how it should be. So now what we do is we single crochet into that first single crochet that we made in the different color on the lower part of the head. Okay, so basically you kind of close the head like so, which mimics the way that we are going to eventually sew them together. Okay, so that you can insert your crochet hook into the first single crochet that you made in a different color. And then we are going to remember to keep, oh sorry, I forgot to tell you, remember to keep the upper part of the head on the outside of the lower part, so don't start crocheting putting it inside, if you will. Keep it outside, okay, like so. And then you just take your crochet hook, insert it into that first single crochet that you made in a different color, and just make your first single crochet of the next round. Okay, and now we are going to make one single crochet in each single crochet of this different color. Okay, so that's going to be 38 plus 36, that's 74 if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be 74 single crochets in this different color. So you basically make one single crochet in each of these single crochets. Okay, I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once that is done, so we have 2 rounds made with a different color, we are going to make 37 single crochets into the lower part of the head. So let's start by making those. Okay, so once you have made those 37 single crochets, we are going to single crochet 3 together. So basically, in the next 3 single crochets that you have, which should be right at the corner of the mouth, if you will, we are going to make 1 decrease. So how that works is as if you were making a regular decrease, but instead of going into 2 stitches, we are going to go into 3. So insert your crochet hook into the front loop of the first stitch, then into the second front loop of the second stitch, and then into the front loop of the third stitch. And then you just yarn over, pull through the 3 loops, so 1, 2, 3, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops remaining on your stitch. So that's basically a decrease in 3 stitches, and I'm going to count just for 1 second how many single crochets we have to make next, because I'm kind of making this up as we go. Okay, so next we have to make 33 single crochets, so 1 single crochet in each of the next 33 stitches. Okay, so once you've made those 33 single crochets, we're going to once again do that single crochet 3 together, so basically a decrease in 3 stitches. So don't worry if you overlap with the previous round, it's fine, or the next round I suppose, it's okay. So once again, insert your crochet hook into the front loop of the first stitch, and then into the front loop of the second stitch, and then into the front loop of the third stitch. Yarn over, pull through the first 3 loops on your stitch, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 remaining loops. And then we are just going to slip stitch and fasten off, leaving again quite a long tail for sewing. So I'll see you when I have that done. Okay, so now we are going to sew the back of the head together. So because of the way that we have stitched the mouth, the lips, I suppose, there isn't really much space that you can move the head. So if that makes sense, even if I take the pins out. Okay, you can't really go wrong with sewing the upper part of the head to the lower part of the head in the back, because you can't really close it too much, because then you really cannot sew here, and you can't open it too wide, because then you can see that the mouth is stretched too much right here, okay, at the corner basically. So what you want to do, and this is because I can't really give you any kind of exact indication as to where you should sew the two parts together. So what you want to do is you basically want to sew it so that, as you can see, there is no space here or here. Sorry, I can kind of, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So there is no space at the corners when you go and sew them, and the lips aren't too stretched, so it's not like so. Basically, consider that we have to then sew the lips so that it kind of folds like so. Okay, hopefully that will help you. But then again, it leaves you a little bit of space to sew the head in a way that isn't going to be wrong, but it still leaves you a little bit of freedom as to how open the mouth will be. Okay, so it's also your preference. I hope that makes some kind of sense. But I'm going to sew it with this inclination. Oh, wait. Okay, there we go. Like so. Okay, so I can tell you, if you want to look at the back, this is the overlap that I'm going to go for. If you want to maybe see the rounds that it covers, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the 8th round of the lower part of the head. Okay, so the upper part of the head, in my case, is going to cover from the 8th round of the lower part of the head. Okay, hopefully that helps you. But again, you can go with your own preference. Okay, so I'll see you when this is done. This is probably the most, like, the trickiest part of it, because again, I don't really know how to explain it very well. So it's going to be a little easier, hopefully, from here. Okay, so as you can see, I've sewn the two parts of the head together, so it looks something like this. And what we're going to do next is we're going to basically sew the lips. So what that means essentially is we're just going to fold the top row down so that the darker green, the part that's in darker green, is going to be sewn together like so. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to sew the top row in darker green to the bottom row, still the one in darker green. I'm going to show you because some people have noticed that I don't really show you how to sew, and the reason why I don't do that is because I'm not good at it, but maybe I'll pay more attention because I'm showing you. So the way that I would do it, very instinctually, because again, I'm not in any way trained when it comes to sewing, okay? But as you can see, my yarn is here because this is where we finished making the last round when it came to the darker green. Okay, so I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to insert it here, which is the basically the first, or I suppose right underneath the first row that we worked in darker green. So it's where we started joining basically with the darker green, and then you just pull. Okay, and then what I would do is I would go inside the stitch that right next to the one that the needle just came out of. So you go inside that stitch and then you look to see the second stitch but on the top row in darker green, so right here, and I would just pull through. And then, as you might imagine, I would go into the third stitch on the top row and have the needle come out on the third stitch, but on the bottom row. Okay, now I don't know, this sewing stitch probably has a name, but again, I don't know anything. So I would then insert the needle into the stitch right next to the one that the needle just came out of, so still in the bottom row of that darker green, and then have it come out in the corresponding stitch on the top row. Okay, and then you just repeat that for the rest of the lips, I suppose, so for the rest of that darker green. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, I hope that's clear, and I will see you when this is done. Okay, so as you can see, here are the lips sewn up with the back of the head as well, and so we've sewn up the two pieces of the head and the lips, and now we move on to the tongue. Okay, so to make the tongue, we are going to start by using the lighter green, and we are going to start by making a magic ring, and then round one is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, so once round one is done, we can move on to round two, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end, we are going to have 9 single crochets. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is going to be worked with the middle shade of green, if you will, so not the darkest one, but the one that's darker than the lighter one. You get it. So round 3 is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch, so at the end of round 3 we will still have 9 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we can move on to round 4, which is still going to be worked with the darker shade of green, and it's going to be 2 single crochets and 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 4 is done, we can move on to round 5, and we are going to go back to the lighter green. I simply didn't cut the yarn the first time that we changed color, but that's just what you're seeing, don't worry about it. So the next one is going to be just 1 single crochet in each stitch, so at the end of round 5 we will still have 12 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, and once round 5 is done, we can move on to round 6, which is going to be still with the lighter green, and it's going to be 3 single crochets and 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 15 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 6 is done, we can move on to round 7, which is going to be worked with the darker green. So we're just going to switch colors, and that's just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 15 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 7 is done, we can move on to round 8, which is still going to be worked with the darker green. It's going to be 4 single crochets and 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 8 is done, we can move on to round 9, which is going to go back to the lighter green, and it's just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 9 we will still have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 9 is done, we can move on to round 10, which is going to be still worked with the lighter green, and it's going to be 5 single crochets and 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 21 single crochets, and again I will see you once I have these done. Okay, so once round 10 is done, we move on to round 11, which is going to go back to the darker green, and it's just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 11 we will still have 21 single crochets, and I will see you once I have these done. Okay, and once round 11 is done, we can move on to round 12, which is still going to be with the darker green, and it's going to be 6 single crochets and 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 24 single crochets. I'll see you when I have these done. So once round 12 is done, we can move on to round 13. So we go back to the lighter green, and it's just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of both round 13 and 14, so the next 2 rounds, just 1 single crochet in each stitch. So we will still have 24 single crochets, and that's going to be the tongue done. Okay, so this is the tongue done. So we are just going to slip stitch and then cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the tongue to the head, and then we can move on. Okay, so next we are going to make the spikes that are going to go on the head, and we are going to use the darkest green, and we are going to start by making a magic ring. And then round 1 is going to be 4 single crochets worked into the magic ring. Okay, so once round 1 is done, we can move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 single crochet and 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we are going to have 6 single crochets. Okay, so once round 2 is done, as you can see, I'm kind of manipulating the shape that we already have using the crochet hook to kind of make the tip of the spike. If it doesn't happen, you can just do it with your crochet hook. And then we move on to round 3, which is going to be 2 single crochets and 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we are going to have 8 single crochets. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we can move on to round 4, which is going to be 3 single crochets and 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we are going to have 10 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 4 is done, we can move on to round 5, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we are going to have 12 single crochets, and once again I'll just see you once I have these done. Okay, so once round 5 is done, we can move on to round 6, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we are going to have 14 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have these done. Okay, and once we have round 6 done, we can move on to the final round, which is going to be 6 single crochets and 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we are going to have 16 single crochets, and as I said, that's going to be the end of the first spike. Okay, so once the spike is done, you can just fasten off. So we're just going to slip stitch and then cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail to sew the spike to the head. So this is going to be the first spike done. So in total you want to make 4 spikes, and 2 are going to be just like this one, so the one we just made, and then you have to make another one like the one we just made. And then next we have to make 1 spike that is going to be exactly the same, but instead of being all 7 rounds, it's going to be rounds 1 through 6. So you just repeat the first 6 rounds and you get the 3rd spike, and then you get the 4th spike by making rounds 1 to 5. Okay, so we are going to have 4 spikes in total at the end, and that's how you get them. Okay, so next, using your white felt, you can just cut out some teeth. So you want to cut out 4 bigger teeth, which are going to be 2 centimeters when it comes to the base and 2 centimeters when it comes to the height, and 8 smaller teeth that are going to be 1.5 centimeters when it comes to the base, 1.5 centimeters when it comes to the height. They're going to be isosceles, and honestly you don't need to be that precise, and I'm sorry but I'm not going to do geometry here, so yeah, there we go. Okay, so next we are going to get started on the body, the stem, I don't know, using the lighter green, and we are going to start with a magic ring, and then round 1 is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, so once round 1 is done, we can move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 increase in each stitch for a total of 6 increases. So at the end of round 2, we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet and 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we can move on to round 4, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated again 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, and then once round 4 is done, we can move on to round 5, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated again 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, and once round 5 is done, we can move on to round 6, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated as usual 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 36 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 6 is done, we can move on to round 7. So round 7 is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times as usual. So at the end we are going to have 42 single crochets, and once again I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 7 is done, we can move on to rounds 8 to 12, because the next 5 rounds are going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of rounds 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, we will still have 12 single crochets, sorry, not 12, 42 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 12 is done, we can move on to round 13, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 decrease. So at the end we are going to have 36 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 13 is done, we can move on to the next 4 rounds, because rounds 14, 15, 16 and 17 are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of rounds 14, 15, 16 and 17, we will still have 36 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 17 is done, we can of course move on to round 18, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 18 is done, we can move on to rounds 19, 20, 21 and 22, because the next 4 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of rounds 19, 20, 21 and 22, we will still have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 22 is done, we can move on to round 23, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 6 times. So at the end we are going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 23 is done, we can move on to round 24, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 24 we will still have 24 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once we have round 24 done, before we move on to round 25 and the next round, I'm going to quickly show you how to place the wire inside the body, the stem, whatever. So I have about 35 centimeters of wire, of the thicker wire specifically, and basically what you want to do, we are going to take the base of the body of the stem again, and we want to create kind of like a spiral that covers the base of the body, so it's easier if I show you. So I'm just going to take my pliers, and then I'm going to twist the wire around the pliers so that it creates this kind of a spiral that is then going to make the base of the body so that the chomper can stay upright, otherwise the head is going to be too heavy and it's just going to fall. And also it's a way to connect the head to the body. So we are going to check that the spiral is the correct size for the base of the body. Okay, so you can twist it a little bit more if you want to, as I'm doing, just so that, you know, I have kind of like a solid base. Okay, so once you're satisfied with the base of the wire, you're going to take the pliers and bend the wire so that it goes upwards, much like I just did, so that, you know, it can go upwards in the body. Okay, does that make sense? So it's going to be perpendicular to the base. So then I just put the base inside the body, and I just left the wire coming out of the neck. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable working around this, but it's going to be better this way. So next we move on to round 25, which is going to be 6 single crochets and then 1 decrease. I said that weird. Anyway, and 1 decrease, repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 21 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 25 is done, as you can see, I just kind of bent the side just because I wanted to see what the body would look like. I kind of wanted a preview, if you will, because the body of the chomper isn't straight. Anyway, we move on to round 26, which is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 26, we will still have 21 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 26 is done, you can kind of see me struggle for my life. So we are going to make 5 single crochets and 1 decrease, repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 18 single crochets. So at the end of round 27 we are going to have 18 single crochets. I'll see you once I have these done. Okay, so once round 27 is done, we can move on to round 28, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Oh, and this is also the time where you want to start stuffing the body, by the way. So once round 28 is done, we can move on to round 29, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 3 times. So at the end we are going to have 15 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, and once round 29 is done, we can move on to rounds 30, 31, 32 and 33, which are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of those 4 rounds we are still going to have 15 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have those done. Okay, so once round 33 is done, we can move on to round 34, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated three times, Jesus, okay, repeated 3 times. And so at the end, we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I'll see you once I have this done. It's going to be uncomfortable and difficult making this, I know, because of the wire. I know, I'm sorry, there's just no other way. Okay, so once round 34 is done, you can move on to rounds 35, 36 and 37, because the last 3 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'll see you once I have those 3 rounds made. Okay, so once round 37 is done, as you can see, I really bent the wire here so that the body would look like a little bit more like the body of the Chomper, because it's a little bit curved. So what you want to do is you just bend the wire, and you have to bend it quite a bit because the body is kind of thick around it, I suppose, so it's going to be more difficult to see the shape of the wire basically through the body. So bend it a little bit more and you should get the shape that you want. Next, I'm just going to slip stitch and cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the body to the head, and then that is going to be the body done. Okay, so next we are going to make the smaller leaves first using the dark green, and we are going to start by making a magic ring, and then we are going to make a chain of 6. So we are going to make 6 chains. Okay, so once the 6 chains are done, we are going to start from the second chain from the hook, and we are going to make 1 single crochet, then 1 half double crochet into the next chain, and then we are going to make 1 double crochet in the next chain, and then we are going to make a second double crochet in the next chain, and then we are going to be making 4 double crochets into the same chain, which is going to be the last chain. So in that last chain we are going to make 4 double crochets, and that's going to allow us to turn around the chain basically and start working on the other side of the chain. And once again we are going to make 1 double crochet into the next chain. Then we are going to make 1 double crochet into the next chain, and then we are going to make 1 half double crochet into the next chain, and then we are going to make 1 single crochet into the last chain, and we are going to close the leaf by making a slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made at the beginning of the round. So that's the small leaf done, and we are just going to cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the leaf. And you want to make 6 of those. Hi, it's me from the future. I don't know why I didn't film this part, so I'm editing the thing and I realized this part is completely missing. I don't know why. Like, I started filming this and then I just didn't finish. I don't know what happened. Must be the 40 degrees we've been living with for about a month now. I don't know if I've complained enough about how hot it's been here. I think I should complain some more. I think that'll help. Anyway, okay, so we are going to use the dark green. We are going to start with a magic ring. And then we are going to make 10 chains. Okay, so once you have your chains, you are going to take your wire, specifically the finer wire. Sorry, I'm looking for, I had a piece of wire and I've lost it because everything is just going wrong. Okay, maybe I should stop being so dramatic. Okay, so you're going to get a piece of wire. You need a much smaller piece of wire than this. You basically, what we're going to do is we are going to single crochet all around Okay, and in those single crochets we are going to incorporate the wire into the leaf. So basically you need a piece of wire that is pretty much double the length of your chain. I always go for a little bit more just in case, because you never know. So I just already bend it because that's how we are going to use it, and then you just cut the wire that you need. Oh, that was very therapeutic, wasn't it? And then what you want to do is you want to press the two edges, let's go with that, together, okay, because they have to be close. Close but not crossing, so just if that happens, just uncross them, and if you're not as sleep deprived as I am, that's not going to be that difficult. But I'm just generally a little unwell, so it's going to take me a second. Okay, something like that. Okay, so now you are going to take your chain, okay, and you're going to incorporate the wire like so. So the curve, like the bent part, should go towards the beginning of your chain, I suppose. So not where your crochet hook is, okay? So we are going to start from the second chain from the hook, and in that second chain you have to make 2 single crochets, but you have to make those 2 single crochets incorporating the wire into the leaf. Okay, so start by placing the yarn over the piece of wire like so, and then when you go into the chain to make the single crochet, you go with your crochet hook under the wire. Okay, so when you yarn over and pull through, you're pulling under the wire so that the yarn has now enveloped the wire, I suppose. That's a good word, maybe. So that's the first one. We have to make 2 into the same chain. Okay, so you go back into that same chain and you repeat the process. So you insert your crochet hook under the wire, and then when you yarn over, you pull the yarn oh god, under the wire. Jesus Christ, when I say that I'm sleep deprived and it's too hot, I'm not even joking. Okay, so you have 2 single crochets into the first chain, and then you have to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 7 single crochets, still keeping the wire into the leaf. Okay, so you insert your crochet hook, you go under the wire, you yarn over, pull through, still under the wire, and then when you yarn over again and pull through the 2 remaining loops, you go over the wire. Okay, so that's 1. You have to make 7. Why do I have insects flying? Jesus, everything is going so well. Sorry, the yarn is cursed now, because of course it is. Okay, so once you've reached the last chain, so you still have to work into the last chain, just slip the stitches. If the piece of wire is longer than the piece that you're working on, just slip it so that the last chain is right here. Okay, right where the wire turns, so that the wire follows the shape of the leaf. Because obviously, you know, the wire is stronger, if you will, than the yarn, so it's going to pull the yarn where the wire is. So we want the wire to be where we want the leaf to be. If that makes sense. Okay, so in that last chain, we are going to make 3 single crochets, and I just tighten the wire a little bit too much, so I'm just going to do this for a second. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now, because we made those 3 single crochets, we can work on the other side of the chain. And we are going to once again make 1 single crochet in each of the next 7 chains, still incorporating the wire into the leaf. And the reason why we're doing this is because we basically want the leaves to be a little bit solid, because they're going to be the base of the amigurumi, and the head of the amigurumi is pretty heavy, so the leaves can help with the structure of the amigurumi to create a little bit of a more solid base. Okay, so once we reach the last chain, that's just going to be 1 single crochet into that last chain, and then you want to tighten, I suppose, the wire as much as possible here when it comes to the front. So just push it close. A little bit of violence is required in this pattern. Okay, so you can cut the wire now or later, but still you're going to cut the wire that you have in advance. No, that can't be right. In excess, there you go. You're going to cut the excess wire, either now or later if you have it. Okay, and then we have round 2. So now we don't care about the wire anymore. We just work regular stitches into the previous ones. So we are going to make 2 single crochets into the first single crochet, so into the first stitch that we find, that I destroyed a little bit with my wire, hence why it was a bit difficult to find. Let's just not think about it. Just 1 second. Okay, sorry, I needed to sit closer. Okay, so next we're also going to be making 1 single crochet increase into the next stitch, so that's going to be 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Then we are going to make 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. Then we are going to make 1 double crochet into the next stitch. Then we are going to be making 1 triple crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. Okay, then we are going to make 1 triple crochet increase, so 2 triple crochets into the same stitch. Then we are going to make 3 triple crochets, that's difficult, into the same stitch. Then we are going to make 1 triple crochet increase into the next stitch, so 2 triple crochets in the same stitch, and then we are going to make 1 triple crochet in each of the next 5 single crochets. Here comes Oliver. He's a little needy because nobody pays attention to him. Oliver, no, that's not. Hello, you're very cute. I'll open the window for you. Alright, you go enjoy your 35 degrees. That's fine. Okay, so this is just a mess. This whole video is a mess, and specifically this part is just that's fine. It's fine. Okay, so next we are going to make 1 double crochet into the next stitch, then 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. Then we are going to make 1 single crochet increase into the last stitch of the previous round, and then we are going to make into the next stitch 1 single crochet, you chain 2 and single crochet into that same stitch. Okay, so in the last stitch, which is technically the first stitch of the previous round, so you go over the next round, that's okay. You make 1 single crochet, chain 2 and then single crochet into that same stitch. Okay, and then you just fasten off, so slip stitch, and then you cut the yarn, leaving just a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the leaf to the body, and you want to make 5 of these, so 5 leaves. Okay. And if you have any wire like poking out and stuff, you can just take the yarn that you have, the tail of yarn that you have, and you just go back and just cover it. It's fine. It's going to be okay. Both you and me, we're going to be fine. Okay, let's move on before this becomes pure insanity. Okay, so I know potentially there's a lot of noise going on because there is the fan on, but I will die if I don't have it on. So we're going to try to sew this monstrosity, and I know that some people prefer seeing how I sew. It's bad, but I will show you. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to sew the tongue, I suppose, tongue, I suppose, inside the mouth. So it's a little bit difficult to show you where you should place it, but basically, if you remember, you should see here the last round of the bottom part of the mouth. Okay, you should see it here, and that part should be right above the tongue, if you can see here. Okay, so basically you should place it starting from that round and going below, and that should end at pretty much round 4 of the bottom part of the mouth, which again is very difficult to show you. And you can kind of check that the tongue is placed so there is the same distance between this side and the beginning of the tongue, if you will, and this side and the beginning of the tongue. I know it's a little bit difficult to see. I'm trying to find a way to show you. Okay, maybe you can kind of see it there. Okay, so it's basically at the back of the mouth, if you will, like that. Okay, so I'm gonna sew it now. I apologize to anyone who knows how to actually sew. I'm basically just going to go to the outside of the mouth and then go into the next stitch and immediately go into the tongue. Okay. And you can also use this yarn that you're using to sew to kind of hide the wire. If you have some wire that is still showing the same way that I do, you can use it to cover it. Okay, so hopefully you get an idea of how to sew the tongue, and I'll be back to sew the rest of it. Okay, so I've sewn the tongue. Maybe you can see it. Did I do it well? Not really, but listen, I did the best that I could. Okay, so next we're going to sew the spikes at pieces. I don't know. So if you remember, we made them in 3 different sizes, so we're going to go by sizes. So the bigger ones are going to go first, and then the medium one, if you will, the one that had 6 rounds, and then the one that has 5 rounds. Okay, and as long as placing them, okay, so you want to place them starting from the last round that we made in the lighter green before we switched to the darker green to make kind of like the lips. So you want to place it right there, you can see it. And as far as counting like where you should place it, basically you want to place it right in the middle. So to count that, you can kind of count like stitches on this round. So I have about 15-16 stitches right here, and then 15-16 stitches right here, but I'm probably going to check it again before I sew it because I might have gotten it wrong. It looks pretty centered. I don't know, I'll check it later. And then the other spikes should be like about half a stitch one from the other. So as you can see, there really isn't much space in between the spikes. It's about, as I said, half a stitch, because we want to have enough place here to have like the leaves and like the neck, if you will. And sewing the spikes is going to be much like sewing the tongues, so I'm going to try to show you. If you don't want the color to show on the inside of the head, you can use the same color that you used to make these, or you can use an invisible thread, because either way you're going to see a little bit of the color, but personally I don't mind, so I'm just going to sew it. Okay, so hopefully you kind of get how to sew them. So I just removed this one because it was bothering me, like the pins on the other side. But hopefully you get that. So I'll be back with all of them sewn. Sorry, just a very brief tip. So if instead of going all the way through the head, so instead of just inserting the needle like this, you keep your stitching closer to the surface, if you will. So if you keep it shallow like so, so obviously you still go through the stitches in the head, but you don't go all the way through. This way the yarn in a different color that you might be using to sew the spikes won't show inside the head. Should have thought of these sooner, but I didn't. So you know, better late than never, I suppose. So yeah, okay, and you can just keep sewing like this so that the stitching won't show inside the head. Okay, I hope that's clear enough. And yeah, back to the regular video. Okay, so next we are going to sew the leaves on the base of the body. So you're going to take the leaves, and first of all, there is going to be a wrong side of the leaves and a right side of the leaves. Remember that the right side should be facing upwards. Okay, and then you're going to place the leaves. I'm going to show you one by one, but just to start, oh, this is going to be difficult. Okay, so just to start, it's on the 4th round of the body. So if you see 1, 2, 3, so it starts on the 4th round of the body. And wait, I have to, okay, that's better. Okay, so you want to start by placing it on the 4th round of the body. It's just pretty much straight. If you want to wait and see how I place the other ones to get a better idea, but that's how we're going to place it. And first of all, I'm going to bring the yarn that we used previously all the way through so that I can sew using that yarn. And then once you reach the stitches that kind of start, you know, going onto sorry, onto the body, you're going to sew the leaf onto the body. So you just go and be careful if you're doing what I'm doing not to pull too much, otherwise this side is going to shrink. I don't know how to say that better, but you saw what was happening, so be careful not to do that. And you just keep sewing. I'm also going to sew this part right here. Okay, not exactly where the edge of the body is, because if I did that then the leaf would be too attached to the body. I want the leaf to be kind of flat. So what you can do is you can place the body as if, you know, it was the finished amigurumi. So the body has to be like this, the leaf has to be flat on the surface that you're working on, and then you want to see where should you sew the leaf. So in my case it's going to be quite close to the bottom of the leaf, so I'm going to just give it a couple stitches here because I don't want it to move more than it needs to, you know. So I'm just going to give it a couple of stitches here. Okay, and that's the way that we are going to sew all of the leaves. As you can see, it's still flat, but it doesn't move too much, or it doesn't, you know, it can't really bend all the way backwards. okay? And that's the way that we want it. Okay, I'm going to show you how to place the other leaves, but I'm not going to show you how to sew all of them because I'm going to sew them in the exact same way. So you are going to take your second leaf, and once again remember to place the right side facing upwards, and basically we're still going to place it on the fourth round, and you want to place it so that it overlaps with the previous leaf just a little bit. So I would say it's about half of the last round of stitches, so it's not all the way, it's not all the round, also because you have triple crochets here, so they're quite tall stitches, so there would be quite a lot of leaf that would need to overlap. So it's about half of that, so pretty much up to here, okay, it needs to overlap. But you don't have to pay that much attention to how much leaf is overlapping and stuff like that. You can also just place all of the leaves, and basically what you want it to look like is you want the leaves to completely cover the base and just go all around the bottom of the body. So you can just also just place them so that they do that, so you don't have to really pay that much attention to it. I'm just telling you just in case you want to try and be, I don't know, if you'd rather do it that way, it's either way, it's fine. It's your amigurumi, you know. Okay, next we are going to place the fourth leaf. So I'm still going you know, on the fourth round, and sometimes, you know, sometimes you cannot stay exactly on the fourth round, you have to go into the third because it depends on where the round begins, where the round ends and stuff. So just make sure that the leaves kind of are kind of even once you place the amigurumi flat on the table. And we're going to place the last leaf, so as you can see they kind of overlap, all of them. Okay, so once I turn this, it's going to be a little bit of a mess, but yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to sew them and be back. Just sew them as we did the first one and you're going to be fine. Okay, so I'll see you once I have all of these sewn. Okay, so I have the leaves at the base sewn. Again, I apologize for the noise, it's just so hot. So hot, cannot even explain. Anyway, so I've sewn the leaves at the base, and what I've done is I've simply taken my pliers and basically just bent the wire a little bit so that they look like this. They're not completely flat. I just bent just the tip just a tiny bit so that the leaves kind of look like, you know, not so still, if you will. Does that make sense? But next we are going to attach the head to the body. So here's the thing, I cannot tell you exactly where you should, so basically let me try to make sense. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to use this wire, and this wire is going to go into, this is, I know it's weird, but it's going to go into the back of the head and into the tongue, I don't know, that word is difficult, clearly. And then we are going to cut the excess wire, okay, so that the body is connected to the head through the wire as well, so that, you know, obviously it can kind of stand, otherwise the head would be just too heavy. So you basically have to insert the wire into the back of the head and into the tongue, but what you want to do is you want to place the neck pretty much here, so about one stitch below the last spike that we have. So you have the last spike, you have one round, and then this is where the neck should go. Okay, so because I don't know exactly where the wire comes out of your body, I cannot tell you exactly where to insert the spike, okay, because mine comes out fairly low, as you can see, but if yours comes out a little bit, you know, above that, then it's going to be a different stitch. But for me it's going to be about here, So what you do is you just, I know it's weird, I get it, and you have to kind of move the stuffing out of the way and just push it through and have it come out of the tongue. If we can do that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, if I just use a crochet hook for a second, because this is okay. So if you then adjust the neck, if you will, against the head, it's a little bit tricky because of the wire. I do realize that it's going to get easier once you have it sewn, but as you can see, if you fix it, you can manage to fix it, it's going to come out there. Can you see? Kind of like it's below. Okay, it's one round below the last spike, and then once you've sewn it, I cannot show you while it's standing because it's too tall, but once you've sewn it, this is what it looks like. Okay, so first things first, I'm just going to cut the wire that's coming out of the tongue because that's a little bit weird. So what you want to do is you want to push the tongue down just a little bit and then cut the wire so that you're sure it won't come out of the tongue. Okay. Then you can fix it. It's fine, you're gonna have to fix it a little bit because through sewing it, it's going to get a little bit crushed, but that's fine, you can just fix it later. So now I'm going to take my needle, which is here, and I'm going to just thread the needle, and basically you want to make sure that you're sewing it so that the head can kind of be, I know you can't see anything, I'm so sorry. Basically you want to sew it so that this doesn't happen, okay? So you have to sew it being sure that the head is fixed and it's upright, like so. Okay, so I'm going to place some pins and then I'm going to put it down so that you can see. Okay, and then you just sew it. It might be a little, the only like tricky thing could be that you have a little bit of wire here, but otherwise it shouldn't be too difficult. You can also go, unless you have the tongue, which like yes I do, so you have to go just basically, so it's a little bit difficult because we're showing you, I just have it in an awkward position. Okay, it's a very basic, I think it's a whip stitch, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. Okay, and you just go all around the neck, just doing that. Okay, I'll see when I have that done. Hopefully you kind of get like what you have to do, right? So for each stitch, just go into the neck and then into the head, have it come out, and repeat. You can also do a couple of passes instead of just one if you want to, just to have it really secured. Okay, so I'll see you when I have that done. Okay, so once we have the head sewn, we can sew the smaller leaves and then we're almost done. So if you have it stand up and let's say it doesn't stand on its own, so like, I know this is pointless shot, but still, so if it falls, if it tends to fall, you can always adjust the wire so that the kind of like the curve is a little bit more accentuated, so you can just push it like so, and that should help with bearing the weight of the head. So don't worry if like you're just done and it doesn't stand, you can just fix the wire and that should fix that. Next, we are going to sew the smaller leaves. So the only thing that I've done is I've brought the tail that we left when we made the leaf towards the bottom of the leaf, much like we did with the bigger ones. Next, we are going to sew them. If I can find the needle that I just put down. Oh, okay. I put it back where it should be, which is unusual, which is why I didn't find it. Okay, so this is going to be probably the most annoying part of it. It's like this whole thing has been annoying, which I feel you, but this is going to be the most annoying part because we kind of have to work here. It's a bit of a tight space, but basically you want to place your leaves, which should go like all around the neck, right? So you have to be careful to place them so that you just avoid this spike. So basically this leaf is going to be here, and the way that you are going to sew them, honestly, just very simple, like so. You go into the neck and then into the leaf. It's just a couple of stitches because it's a very small base, so you don't have to sew much for each leaf. Okay, so something like that. And then when you have to place the leaf that goes right next to that one, you are going to place it so that it goes like this. Okay, so that they kind of open and you don't go into the spike. Okay, and then you just place the other leaves all around, and yeah, that's it for the leaves. And then we just have the teeth. We can do this. Okay, I'll see you when I have these sewn. Okay, so now we are going to place the teeth. Again, I apologize for the noise. I don't know if I've mentioned that it's hot and I dislike it. Anyway, to place the teeth. Okay, so first of all, if you remember, we have 4 teeth that are bigger, so you're going to place those here, 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 and here. Okay, so on the outside, both on the upper lip and the lower lip. It's a bit weird for a plant, but you get me. Okay, so the way that you are going to place the teeth, first of all, you want to place the one that are further outside, so this one and this one, and then this one and this one, about 2 stitches from the corners of the mouth. Okay, you can count the stitches if you look inside the mouth. You can kind of count, you know, the top of the stitches basically, and that's how you can also count the stitches in between the teeth. So I placed them because of how big the teeth are, but you can always make them like a little bit smaller, and then you'd have to place them differently. You can just try and see how it looks and how you like it best, but the way that I placed them so that they're right above the top of the stitches. Okay, so if you can see here, you can just see the top of the single crochets, and then there is the teeth immediately there. Okay, and then you're going to place 6 teeth per lip, 6 teeth above and 6 teeth below. Great. And you are going to place them so that in between each tooth you have about, can you see anything? Where to go? This is most difficult. Can you see anything? Kind of. So as you can see, there is barely 1 stitch in between each tooth, or in between teeth, sorry. Have I mentioned that it's very hot? I'm sorry, I can't even think. Okay, so it's about 1 stitch, if that, like more half a stitch in between the teeth. They're quite close together. It's not like a very precise placing of the teeth, by the way. You can just kind of tweak with them and place them with the pins first, and then you glue them. And the way that I'm going to do that, I'm going to show you how I'm going to glue them. It's nothing like, you know, outwardly, but you never know. So basically I'm going to take each tooth and I'm just going to put some glue right at the bottom of the tooth. It's always very stressful, so that's nice. And then a bit quickly you can place it where you want it to be. Okay, and then once you have it on, you're just going to kind of fold it so that, you know, the teeth are kind of like pointing downwards as a tooth should. I feel like this tutorial is just me rambling, hoping that it makes sense, but my brain is also melting out of my ears as I try. So I don't know. I hope that made sense. This is probably the easiest part. It's just a little bit annoying because you know you don't have much space. Like there isn't much space in this pattern to move. But once that is done, we're going to be done. So I just have to edit this monstrosity. But I'm rambling. I'll see you when the teeth are glued. Okay, so here is Chomper all finished, all done with all of its teeth. Okay, so I feel like this took something out of my life, but I hope the tutorial was kind of clear. I know some things are going to be a bit unclear. Just let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to reply and, like, you know, be kind about it. Like, I get that you might have questions and I'm happy to answer if you ask them. So for those who asked for the tutorial, I hope you get to see it. I know it was late. I'm sorry. I'm just disorganized. Anyway, you can find me on my social media somewhere on the screen right now, and I'm tired. If you could just leave me a like, maybe a comment. If you have any requests, I'd be happy to give them a try, and I'll see you next one. Okay, made it. Have a good day. Bye bye.